Hey everybody, it's Lyle with LPD TV, and I'm back again. And I'm here with a friend of mine. His name is Brooks Robinson, and he's invited me into his shop today. So let's turn the camera around and say hi.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey Brooks, how are you, man?
How are you, buddy?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, man.
Good. So thanks first of all for inviting me into your shop, and
You're welcome.
I appreciate that very much. So yeah, you're into motorbikes, and so am I. So tell me a little bit about your story. What got you into motorbikes to start with?
Sure. Well, I kind of grew up in Hawaii, of all places, on an island called Kauai.
Okay.
And our neighbors were this local Hawaiian family, and they rode dirt bikes their whole lives. They were just kind of extremely talented at, heavy machinery at a young age, and rode motocross and everything. So I was always fascinated by that as a kid.
Yep.
But my folks would never get us a motorcycle, for obvious reasons as a parent. But eventually, once I got old enough, well, I guess before that, my dad would get like old bicycles from the dump and little like old rusty pieces of junk and bring them home, and we'd fix them up and build little ladder bridges on the property and
Oh, cool.
ride around in the valley and stuff. We had like 3.5 acres on the island, so
Yep.
plenty of space to kind of mess around as young boys. So we'd build ladder bridges and all kinds of little obstacles and things. Got into mountain biking, was hooked on that, still do it. Still ride Cypress, grew up riding Cypress Mountain in West Vancouver, Squamish and Frome and Seymour and all those places.
Yeah.
And then, a dream of mine since I've been a kid has always been to rebuild an old motorcycle. Life got in the way over the years, but I finally, came across this old piece of trash in a buddy's garage. And
Let's just focus in on this and take a look. So tell me about this thing.
so this is a 1972 Honda CB450.
Okay.
So it's like it's a twin, carbureted, obviously. Very, very simple mechanically. Very easy to work on. I downloaded the shop manual and towed this thing, loaded up into the back of the truck, and brought it over here. And just a pile of junk and a few boxes of parts that were missing quite a few things.
Yeah.
I was missing the headlight, missing a seat, and a bunch of other things. So I stripped it down to basically the frame and the engine, and just started pulling apart the seized kind of carburetors and all sorts of different things that had been sitting for decades.
Yep.
And just started reading the shop manual and figuring out kind of where to begin. I was definitely in over my head at first.
Yeah.
But the more hours I just spent in here, kind of sitting and looking at the thing and figuring it out, it started to make sense to me. So I guess the first things I did were pull the mufflers off, took the wheels off. I just pulled the old wiring harness out, all the old cables and levers, the old bar. One of the first things I did was rebuilt the forks. Coming from a mountain biking background, I kind of understood how suspension works. So they're just like an old oil-filled fork with spring coil and obviously stanchions in there and seals and all those basic things. So kind of pulled that all apart, drained the old oil, which was like sludge, had been sitting for decades, cleaned all the parts. Rebuilt it, fresh oil, put it all back together, rebuilt the head tube bearings, rebuilt the master cylinder, which was just like crust. So that was a time-consuming process, just scrubbing kind of the old shit out of there.
Yeah.
But stoked that I got to reuse the master cylinder because I think it's classic and looks good.
Yeah.
Put some new levers on there, rebuilt the front caliper, put some fresh pads and a new piston in there, stainless brake lines. I'm waiting on another stainless brake line because they sent the wrong one.
Right.
Gonna get some nice knobby tires eventually for this. Fresh wiring harness. I cleaned out the inside of the tank, which was like 20 liters of vinegar and several days of just. I soaked the tank in. I put like a couple hundred screws and 16 liters of vinegar in there and just sloshed it around every few hours for several days.
Yeah.
And that slowly ate away at all the rust. And then I did like an oil rinse and then a gasoline rinse. So that seemed to do the trick. Rebuilt the latch and lock. Rebuilt the carburetors, obviously. Put new jets and valves in there, new float bowls, air filters, new carb boots. Did the cam chain tensioner, valve adjustments, ignition timing, new spark plugs, boots, wires.
So you've had the engine completely apart, eh?
Everything kind of around the engine. I didn't rebuild the engine itself.
Okay.
But kind of all the components surrounding it. It had good compression. Put fresh oil in it. So I didn't really want to tackle an engine rebuild for my first project. I'm hoping that the piston rings are good and
Yeah.
other things internally that I haven't seen are okay. So we will see.
Right.
Yeah, new wiring harness, like I said. I updated like a lot of the electrical stuff. New battery, new good AGM battery from Common Motor. Common Motor has been awesome, helping me out with all kinds of different questions and kind of spare parts, aftermarket parts, original OEM stuff.
What's the name of the company?
Common Motor Collective.
Okay.
They're in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Austin, I think.
Okay.
They're a great company that does all kinds of YouTube content on vintage Hondas. They only specialize in vintage Hondas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Super good resource for all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, new rear springs, rear sprocket, front sprocket. Chain's okay for now. Don't want to replace that quite yet.
Yeah.
I just want to get it to a point where it's running, and then I'm going to spend more money on it. Do more aesthetic things like a seat, obviously, which is fairly important, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always nice.
And then, some fresh tires because those are old and cracked and dangerous.
Yeah.
I had a look at the rear brake shoes. Probably need to replace them just because they're old. But it's functional for now. Something else I have to order. What else? Yeah, fresh brake lines.
So what got you into restoring bikes? Why did you decide to go that route rather than just buying new bikes? Why did you decide to find something a little bit old and used and make it new again?
Well, I've done that too. I think I get as much enjoyment out of restoring things and fixing things as I do riding them. I just love working with my hands. I like old things. I think old motorcycles and old tools are built much better.
Yeah.
And tend to be a little kind of more manageable to work on. And just the quality is so much better, like I say. And I like the silence in here and listening to music and just kind of tinkering away. The hours go by.
Yeah. What do you have a favorite maybe memory from your childhood about motorbikes or anything like that specific?
First time I got on a motorcycle, I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. My buddies in Hawaii took me up to some trails in the mountains, and they were riding these two-stroke 125s, super powerful, loud as all hell. I'm a short dude, so could barely touch the ground, especially at 12 years old.
Yeah.
And they just threw me on the bike and in the middle of the trail and just try to figure out how the clutch and the gears work. And I remember first thing I learned was that neutral was between first and second, and I thought, why the fuck is neutral between first and second? That makes no sense at all. As a kid, that was just insane to me.
Right.
Managed to figure that out, and I was pretty hooked at that point.
Right. Very cool. What else here? So I'm just thinking about some questions in my head, and I've got, when you go back in your memories, did you have any specific kind of bikes that you were into as a kid that maybe you first got introduced to? You were saying, what did you call them? Enduros or motocross,
dirt bikes,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Because I know when I first met you, you had another bike. It was a cafe racer.
Yeah.
And
1971 Honda CB 750.
okay,
So same era as this, bigger engine, but completely rebuilt and restored, all cafe'd out.
yeah,
It was built by an aircraft mechanic on the island.
Okay.
That I got it from.
okay,
Beautiful bike.
yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, do you have any specific childhood motorbike heroes that you can remember from your childhood? Like if you're into motorbike racing or, motocross,
Yeah, I mean,
road racing, whatever, anything?
yeah, I definitely did. I like covered my walls in posters of like motocross guys. Obviously Travis Pastrana and even like the earlier generation. Blanking on some of their names right now, but Ricky Carmichael would have been one of them.
Yeah, I remember him.
And yeah, I mean, like all those dudes from like the 90s. And,
Yeah,
late
they're all
90s, early 2000s.
motocross guys mostly.
Yeah. I was obsessed.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I say, was never got into it like young enough and had parents that would kind of support me or approve of it.
Right.
So mountain biking was the next best thing for me.
right.
Until I got older, maybe 18, 20, and then bought my first street bike, which was a 2004 Suzuki SV 650.
Cool.
It's kind of like an upright, naked, single headlight V-twin.
Yeah,
So like super powerful, real linear power band. For a 650, it just had so much low end torque.
right.
That was like a very capable bike as a first street bike for me.
Right.
So I didn't get sick of it very quickly, which was great. I feel like I'm quite comfortable on bikes, so I didn't want to buy like a 250 or or like an old, like a cruiser that just was just like a little more gutless. I wanted something that I would kind of grow into. So
Right.
I'm glad I did that. Got rid of it after a few years, and then I got that old Honda eventually. I was away traveling for a while, so
Yeah.
I didn't have like too many bikes over the years, but had that cafe racer, and then now I'm riding this
Yeah.
2017 Triumph Bonneville Bobber Black.
It's a pretty sweet bike. Yeah. 2017.
Yeah,
It's beautiful, man.
yeah, that's a gorgeous old kind of hardtail style.
Yeah. Beauty. We got a jack in the way there, but that's okay.
Here, let me get that out of the way.
Yeah, there we go. So what, do you got any fears of motorbikes?
Yeah, other drivers.
Yeah. It's a pretty real fear, I think, of everybody that's on two wheels for sure.
Yeah, complacent drivers.
Right?
Not sure what it is, but I feel like most Tesla drivers are assholes. They just either don't know how to drive. I feel like it's just like like a grown-up kid and like a big electric toy that they just can't operate properly.
Right.
I don't know if that's a stereotype or not, but definitely see a lot of them out there.
Right.
And then Vancouver drivers are just a nightmare in general.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Most people know that live around here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate you bringing me into the shop. I like what we're listening to. What do you got on the speakers here, man?
What do we have here? Had some Catronata on earlier, and now this is a dude named Venna.
Okay.
Kind of little hip hop, jazz, soul kind of medley.
I just like that you got your computer and everything right out in the shop, man. It's
You need YouTube and shop manuals and internet, all kinds of stuff when you're learning. So
yeah,
definitely been a humbling experience,
yeah, for sure.
but very rewarding when you figure out, kind of old mechanical issues that have stumped you for months. And I haven't had to take it to a mechanic yet. So I feel like I'm making progress. Solved a lot of electrical problems, and
And you basically have what was that store down in Texas? You
Common
said
Motor.
Common Motor. They're
Yeah.
they're one of the biggest helps, and
Yeah.
probably YouTube or
Yeah, they're great.
yeah,
They're great. They have a video for every troubleshooting problem.
right on. What's been the biggest hurdle so far with working on this specific bike?
Electrical.
Yeah,
Electrical. Yeah. You know, it's like it's a reproduction wiring harness, so it's supposed to be the exact same, but it isn't.
right.
And then when you read the wiring diagrams in the shop manual, there's like 6 or 7 different diagrams. One for the US model, one for the UK model, Canadian model, some other import.
Oh wow.
And they all have like these little variations that are specific to whether or not the bike has like a front stop switch, or if it has another like instrument that this bike does or doesn't have.
Right.
So I'm having to like refer to like 2 or 3 that have been fairly accurate.
Right.
So that combined with a little bit of common sense and some testing has gotten me to a place where I've been able to hook up like the main things like ignition switches, starter button, obviously, you know, battery regulator rectifier,
Yeah.
and then the rest is just simple signals and, you know, neutral lights and headlight and stuff. So yeah, I think the worst is over.
Yeah. So what's your inspiration for do you do this basically is what I'm trying to think of is, do you do this for yourself or do you do it for down the road maybe do you want to learn it and do it for someone else? It's just your own
Just for myself.
your own passion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Very cool, man.
But I definitely want to get into more kind of complex restorations, you know, and move into a bigger shop one day, and, you know, work with buddies that have similar interests in mind.
Yeah.
Maybe do like a full custom kind of build with this.
Right.
I want to like I really don't like these headers and mufflers,
Okay.
so I eventually want to switch those out. Maybe do like more of a tail tidy at the back. Maybe shorten that fender.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do.
So many things.
Yeah. This is a beautiful bike. They're both gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. What's been the funnest bike you've had to drive or ride so far?
For like longer trips, this has been the most comfortable and capable.
Right.
But for like ripping around the city, I'd say that 71 CB750, that cafe racer that I had,
Right.
that thing was just a
Yeah, that was beautiful, man. I didn't actually see it in person. I seen some photos of it, and yeah, it was a beautiful bike.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Had enough power. The guy that rebuilt it had like bored out the engine to like 810 cc's.
Wow.
Put some 78 Mikuni carburetors on it,
Yeah.
and then like a single airbox filter from I can't remember the name of the place, from the States. But like, yeah, had done some minor things to kind of really, you know, bump up the horsepower a little bit.
Yeah.
So for a 50-year-old bike, the thing flew.
Yeah.
It was great.
Right on. Oh man, I want to say thanks, man, for
Anytime.
letting me come in and
Anytime.
sit down with you and have a bit of a chat and
Yeah.
and seeing your project here and what you got on the go. I wish you luck with it.
Thank you. Yeah.
And,
hopefully by spring.
Yeah.
I think that's a fairly manageable deadline for
So you
myself.
got disc brakes on the front there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is one of the first years they switched from drums to rotors.
Didn't realize that they had them back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're quite powerful for an old single piston caliper.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Right on.
Come by anytime.
Thanks, man. I
Glad to have
appreciate
ya.
it. Maybe I'll
All
come
right.
back when you're done.
Please do.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Okay.
Take it easy.
Bye.